We're back from the break for the last segment of the Patrick Riggin Show. For those of you who remember Beavis and Butthead, they'd be going, This is the show working to dismantle state-controlled America, spreading the message far and wide on the Libertarian Lighthouse Radio Network and News Talk 98.7 WOKI. Real quickly, what I want to do is just say one more thing about that legalization from the last segment. What that boils down to is you can't be trusted to make the correct decisions concerning your life. So the government has to make them for you. That's what drug laws are. They're a demonstration of the lack of trust the government has in you to make the decisions it thinks you should make in your own life. You won't live the way you should, so we're going to make you. Does that sound like a free country to you? As I've said on this show over and over, if you want true freedom, you have to accept the pretty freedom along with the ugly freedom. They're two sides of the same coin. You should have the freedom to live your life as you want, as long as you aren't infringing on someone else's rights. Along with that, others have the freedom to live in ways you might not agree with, but if they're abiding by the same rules, not infringing on someone else's rights, then they should be able to do as they wish. All right, real quick here, I want to hit this. Let's see, it was this week, Congress passed and President Obama signed a new student loan deal, which will restore lower interest rates for student loans, pledging the hard-fought compromise would be just the first step in a broader, concerted fight to rein in the cost of a college education. The column goes on to say, encircled by lawmakers from both parties in the Oval Office, Obama praised Democrats and Republicans alike for agreeing, finally, on what he called a sensible, reasonable approach to student loans, even as he cautioned that our job is not done. Isn't that just great? Lawmakers from both parties have agreed to confiscate money from the American taxpayer and give it to another citizen in the form of charity. In this case, those citizens are students attending college. I can't think of any better example to get these young, eager minds off to a good start here in this country other than looking to government to help pay their bills. And that's what's happening. For those of you receiving these lower interest student loans, an interest rate is just the price of money. And the government has said, if you take these student loans, you shouldn't have to pay the full cost. You should get a subsidy to help pay for that money. So all you students out there protesting against having the government sticking its nose into your business when it comes to drug legalization, just like we talked about, underage drinking laws, all of that, all of you complaining that you're having to support the elderly through subsidized medical care, how Social Security is going bankrupt before you get old enough to collect anything. Well, now you've joined the ranks of those same people climbing onto the backs of the taxpayers of this country. People demanding that someone else pay their bills, pay for their life decisions. The column goes on to say about 11 million students this year are expected to have lower interest rates, saving the average undergraduate $1,500 on interest charges on this year's loans. House Speaker John Boehner called it a good day and a fine example of what Washington can accomplish when petty partisanship is put aside. His quote is, with the stroke of a pen, we've now officially taken the politics out of student loans. Well, of course John Boehner likes it. He's a government solution. Well, this is a government solution, and he's a government solutions guy. Oh, sure, he's a Republican, but that just means he likes the Republican government solution instead of the Democrat government solution. What escapes these idiots in Washington is that neither is an American solution to the problem, because an American solution wouldn't involve the government. Obama casts the student loan deal as just the first of many measures the U.S. needs to make college affordable as a higher tech economy makes advanced training and education a necessity for many workers. He said the cost of college remains extraordinarily high. It's out of reach for a lot of folks. He also called it a burden as well on families who have to balance other priorities like buying a home with helping fund their children's educations. And he said, quote, we've got to do something about it. No, we don't, Mr. President. point to the place in the Constitution where it states we need to be paying for someone else's bills, be their home mortgages, student tuition, whatever. Nowhere in the Constitution does it allow the government to take money at the point of a gun and give it to another citizen in the form of charity. It's not there. It is not up to me or any of my fellow citizens of this country to pay the way for someone else. Forcible charity isn't charity. It's theft. I've explained it on this show many times. Check our archives at youtube.com/Patrick Riggins Show. I've done quite a few segments explaining the difference between those two things and how it isn't right legally or morally. But don't worry, though, the fun's not over yet. White House officials said Obama plans to lay out a broad and aggressive strategy in the coming months to tackle the spiraling costs of a college education. Even as they passed the bill weeks earlier, congressional officials were already talking about a broader approach to curbing fast-climbing costs and perhaps scrapping the deal when they take up a rewrite of the Higher Education Act this fall. So not only do we have this train wreck of Obamacare barreling down upon us and that no one's going to do anything about, now we have this Obama education coming up next. Free education for anyone who wants it, courtesy of the American taxpayer. I've talked about the con job that's college education on a show earlier last year, so I guess it's getting time to do another segment for the end of the year. Again, you can go to our archives there and find it if you want it. I should have done it back at the first of the summer, though, before a lot of students got headed on the wrong track. Anyway, like I said, we don't need to be paying for other people's bills in life. That's just not how this should be happening. And this is a problem with, in our country, the media wonders why they're becoming more and more irrelevant. It's right here, this blind reporting of whatever they're told without question. They're no longer reporters, they're propagandists. They work for whichever side they agree with. That's mostly the liberal side, but we have some conservative propagandists too. They're the ones telling you George Bush was doing a good thing when he passed the Patriot Act. All right, we're up on the last part of the show here. Thank you for listening. If you want more information about us, go to Facebook.com/Patrick Riggins Show, Facebook.com/Patrick Riggins Show. Be sure and hit that like button. And you can also email us, PatrickRigginsShow@gmail.com, or drop us a card or letter to WOKI Studios. Thank you again for listening, and be sure and join me next Saturday afternoon at 4, where we'll be fighting for freedom, liberty, and the restoration of the Constitution. Thanks for listening, and hey, have a great week.
Join us again next week for a solid dose of truth on The Patrick Riggins Show.